Could I please request you once again to please look at your mobile phones and check if it is either on silent or switched off. Very important that it is, because we are going into a guided mindfulness sitting, and we'd hate it if there is the disturbance of a mobile phone or multiple mobile phones as we go into that sitting. Please check your mobile phones once again. Even if you think you've put it on silent or put it off, just check again. Double check. Thank you. And so, as I mentioned just before tea, this guided mindfulness sitting will be conducted by the Venerable Bhikkhuni Tathālokā, and I'd like to invite her on stage for that.
Dear Venerable Sangha, Venerable Samanas and Samanis, dear Venerable clergy members and Kalyanamitas, Kalyana Sahikas, Dhamma friends. So, welcome back, and I'm very happy to have the opportunity to share with you this period of sitting mindful meditation now, because I think mindfulness is a way of coming back. Now all of us have been out and going here and there, speaking with friends and associates, meeting new people. See if you can sense the vibration or the resonance of those movements, those meetings, and also now taking the intention, with the intention to come back, to fully return. Returning into yourself, returning to the body, to the feeling of the body touching the seat, returning to the feelings of the entire body sitting, from head to foot. If you can sense the entire body with your eyes closed, whatever it looks like, whatever it feels like, whether fluctuations of darkness and light, with a sense of shape and form, or the touching points of your back or your hips on the seat, or your feet touching your sandals or shoes or floor, your hands, whatever they may be touching, the sense of touch. Coming home, returning to this first base, this primary foundation of mindfulness of the body. Mindful of the entire body from head to foot. Mindfulness sweeping around, covering over, encompassing the body, the inside, sensing into the bones, the solidity of the body, the softness that surrounds that, hard and soft, the stability of the bones touching the hardness of seat, hardness of floor, the bones also like the wood, the earth element of earth. Even feeling that into the ground, that solidity, the ground touching into the earth, this entire area with all of its buildings, all of its people, all of its living beings. Also with that solidity, bones, skeletal structure inside them, the great earth element, spreading out over the entire world, holding the entire earth with the feeling, with the thought, with the sense, in this body, in this space, likewise touching into the great earth element, covering the entire island, down into the earth, even below the ocean, into the depths and heights of the mountain ranges, this planet, this great vast earth, the earth element, internal and external. Rising to the biosphere, the element of the air, sensitive to the breath in, the breath out. Inhaling, exhaling, the natural feeling of the waves of the breath as it moves through the body. One moment external, one moment internal. The great air element spreading over the entire world, shared with all sabbe pana, all living beings that breathe. Feeling our commonality with all breathing beings, including the trees, including the plants. As we inhale, they exhale. As we exhale, they inhale. Sharing in the breath of life, all of us together. The great air element. Relaxing more deeply as we breathe in and out with the natural flow of the breath. Now as we have this time to come home with mindfulness to the great elemental properties of our lives. Feeling the warmth of the body, the coolness of the air, warmth and coolness, just as it is. The warmth of the flesh, of the blood, the heart, this warmth of the sunshine, giving life to all the plants, giving life to all of the animals, giving life to us, the great fire element. Internally and externally, felt in the warmth of this living body and the coolness, warmth and coolness. And in our blood, in our veins, the flowing of the waters of life. In the tea or coffee or juice or water that we've drunk, now coursing in our veins. That tea or coffee or juice, also from the rain, also from the springs and rivers and ocean, from the depths of the earth, rising, spreading over the planet, falling again, flowing within our veins, even in our respiration, the droplets of water as we breathe in and breathe out, shared with all of life, animate and inanimate, the great water element. Present, alive and mindful with these great elemental properties, shared with all living beings. The entirety of the physical world as we know it, the entirety of the physical universe, even of multiple eons of universal expansion and contraction, like the many breaths in and out of this day, rising and falling, expanding and drawing in again, appearing and disappearing. And now, mindful of our bodies, mindful of the breath, the rise and fall, attending to the very momentariness of our experience, aware of awareness itself. Whatever is coming into, appearing to our awareness, appearing and disappearing, ever so momentarily, as when we watch the lake or the ocean with a light breeze and we see the flickering, dappled sunlight, or as we watch the leaves of the trees with the sunlight shining through as the leaves move subtly, ever so subtly in the breeze. So the appearance and disappearance of all things, coming into and passing out of existence, ever so momentary. At peace, at ease, with the rise and fall of all of material existence. Aware also how our attention, our consciousness comes into existence. Attention to what is seen as it appears and disappears. Attention to what is heard as it appears and disappears. Attention to what is felt in touch as it appears and disappears. So too, consciousness appearing and disappearing, coming into and passing out of existence. Body and mind. All conditioned things are like this. At peace, at ease, in the present moment experience of the appearing and disappearing of all phenomena. Without judgment, neither grasping nor rejecting, just with a steady, balanced heart, an open mind, open to experiencing, to seeing and to knowing everything just as it actually is. The brilliance of the mind, of the heart, that is so open, so receptive, so brightly and keenly aware, while being so deeply relaxed, at peace and at ease, so comfortable. We invite ourselves to come into this space, to abide in this space of peace and ease for these moments, just present here and now, truly, deeply, clearly, perceptively knowing just what's happening now with the experience of warmth and coolness, hardness and softness, the flow of air, the touch of water, all of the elements, and of consciousness, awareness itself, appearing to meet each object as it appears, vanishing again, arising, alighting on another object, and vanishing again. Ah, the evanescence, the twinkling, the flickering of life, the presence of awareness. Deeply relaxing, with an open heart, receptive to this experience, to truly, freshly, clearly see and know what is the ground of our existence and of our experience in these moments. And this awareness that we call life, the transformation of the great elemental properties that we call life, appearing and disappearing. Whatever comes, comes without hindrance. As it disappears, let it disappear without hindrance, free to come and go, disappearing without a trace. If you can see this, you will know the depths of joy. The beauty that is there, possible, available, accessible to us in any moment, anywhere, anytime, taking the pause to stop and look and see and know the actuality of our experience. Incomparable. If we allow ourselves to see and know our most precious resource, our most precious and exquisite faculty, this awareness, open, untainted, unconvoluted, free. As we breathe in, as we breathe out, mindful of the body and breath, mindful of feelings just as they are, mindful of awareness itself. Let us take a moment to bless this opportunity, to bless ourselves and one another for offering such time, such space, such care for what is so precious, for what is so valuable in all of existence. In our very humane human life of such developed consciousness. Blessing one another with gratitude to those who have awakened, to those who have known these truths, to those who have shared them with us, and gratitude to the path itself, the very nature and grounds of the path, alive in us, present in us. Blessings of peace, blessings of freedom, blessings of the goodness of the nature of the human heart. And now we conclude with the bell.
A very needed respite there. Thank you very much to Venerable Bhikkhuni Tathālokā for taking us through that guided mindfulness sitting. Is on mindfulness for environment, health, and socially relevant issues. Our panel comprises Professor Sarath Kotagama. May I invite him up on stage? Professor Sunil J. Wimalawansa and Dr. Sunil Jayantha Nawaratne. As has been the practice, every speaker will get 12 minutes for their presentation, and I would appreciate if we remain within those 12 minutes because we are running short of time, and we will have a Q&A with the audience after that until 5:45. So welcome to my speakers. Just by way of introduction, I think you would all have their CVs in your booklet. But Professor Kotagama is an award-winning environmentalist. I have been following his work for a long time, especially where lots of work he has done, especially with children as well, making sure that there is a value that they understand in preserving and conserving the environment. We also have with us Professor Dr. Sunil Wimalawansa, who's been abroad, or his career has been abroad for most of his life. He's a professor of medicine, endocrinology and nutrition and at the Cardiometabolic Institution in the USA. And thank you for joining us and adding further value to the discussion. And Dr. Sunil Jayantha Nawaratne, once again, known him for a long, long time through his work in both the private and public sectors. He currently functions as the Senior Advisor, Ministry of Social Empowerment and Welfare. As I mentioned, we would like to start with the three presentations from the three speakers. So, Professor Kotagama, without further ado, could you make your way to the podium? Thank you.
Venerable sirs, mindful friends, I had a PowerPoint presentation, I don't know, okay, it's there. So I start by saying Ayubowan. I hope I'm not going to be controversial because when Dr. Tara Dimel called me and said, speak something about the environment for an audience of mindfulness personnel, I thought first I have to think about being mindfulness. So anyway, I thought I'll set the stage with the little time that I have without doing much. I thought way back in 1997, somebody came to me and said, you have been talking so much about the environment, but it is still being destroyed by everybody. So I asked myself, is there a reason for this? So I thought because people are not thinking about how to solve it. So I decided to do my own background research and came up with this whole idea. It's nothing new when you look at it. So I thought I'll go back to the point of where we started, from where we begin, because this is where we are today. We are in the human era. And this human era is so bad that we are doing everything possible to destroy it and not keep it alive. We have come to the point of signing documents and saying that we want to have a sustainable world for the future. Everybody is doing it. Sri Lanka has committed itself to go along with this. At Rio Plus 20, we said we want the future we want, and two very interesting things came up: institutionalization of sustainable development and green economy. I thought I was the only person who said that economy is wrong, this model is not correct, but I realized that Pope Francis has said it is wrong. So I am very happy that there is a bigger group of people in this world which believe that this economy is wrong. We have gone from poverty, the cause for environmental degradation, to environmental degradation, the cause for poverty. Poverty I would define not just by money, but even by mind. Because to me, it's not the real poor who are destroying the environment, it's the real rich. So problems cannot be solved within the mindset that created them. Another part of my work was to find when would we start really changing. I don't have the time to give you all of that detail, but I said it will happen only after 2012. So I think I am not wrong. I also wanted to know what is the solution. To do that, I had to know what this environment is all about. Because if you are not mindful of the environment, you can't solve the problems that you have created in the environment that you are living. So I went back to where we started. As humans, we evolved into a system and remain for 98% of our life as hunter-gatherers. The reason for which I believe is the insecurity and uncertainty in that lifestyle. And if you are insecure, and if you are uncertain of yourself, if you are insecure and uncertain, you will never take the next step, because there's no point. Your life in this world is going to be useless. So we changed that around 10,000, 12,000 years ago. In between, there are some other stages which I am skipping, and we became secure and certain of the future. Because at least the seed that I plant, I want to sow, I want to harvest it in the time that it is going to ripen, which will help me to survive. And we came to the present generation through that massive change. But today, we are back to square one. We are even more insecure and uncertain of the future. In every respect, I would say. Whether it is food or life or health or living or anything you name it, we have nowhere to go now. So it's a big question. How do we do and where? So where did we come from? For that, I said the earth, we have three parts in the environment. The natural environment, in which 99.9% of us are not living. Because we live in the second part, which I realized is the built, structured environment. This is where we live, and this is by destroying the environment, changing the environment, and making it more and more artificial. And the third environment is what I call the theoretical environment, which answers the question, who are we? And it opens to this whole process, I believe, of mindfulness. If we don't become mindful of where we are and be trained to become what we should be really, not destroying the environment, then this theoretical environment matters a lot. Every one of us, as we just heard on the stage before, we have built our own castles, we have built our own surroundings, and we become so engrossed inside them that we can't see the outside. The crystals are very bad, so we need to break them. But we started here. We evolved here. Gradually, we pushed them out, and they're all beyond the capacity of the earth today, 1.5. So is the solution there? Yes. if you bring it back. I called it naturalization in 1992. Now everybody is calling it greening. Doesn't matter, as long as you do the right thing. We must bring ourselves back to within the planet. This planet is enough for us, as long as we live within it, not outside. And that is the problem we have, because we are all trying to live away. So I said 2012, the decision makers will be at the right age to make a decision on behalf of us, because they would have not just worn the coat, they would have got trained to wear that coat. The dress that we have is something that we need to acquire through some experience, and then we realize that it is there. So everybody is calling it going green, fine. But they are all doing good things with the bad at this present moment, everybody. This is just one example. This is about green buildings, with the lead starting some 5 years ago. We are all now doing that. The Sri Lanka Green Building Council is the new one in Sri Lanka, and we are all doing good with what is bad. Because it's the same, you are all nicely seated there because of this air conditioning. We built a structure which is square box, in which if we sit and wait for some time, it's going to get too hot. So we borrow the worst environment, the technical product for the environment, which is the air conditioning, and we sit comfortably. So there's a lot of mindfulness that is needed. Think about it. My premise is to do better with what is best, and nature is the best. If we can understand nature, if we look at nature and make use of nature, we will never lose. But we are not doing that. So do better with what is best, as nature is the best. Why? It's therapeutic and tranquil, does not discriminate anybody. It's all time giving, does not demand, forgives and repairs, loving and caring, but we are unfortunately trained otherwise. This is the whole problem. They are all beautiful with the makeup, but no match for nature that has no makeup. We can't see anybody beautiful if all those touch-ups are not there. Even when you go to the theater, to a television talk, the first thing they say, go to the makeup room. They have to put all these things about your face and make you look different for the camera. So I said, all this is a farce. Why are we doing this? Because we are trained to see what is made and not what is real. So I believe that is what my message is. So I have been tackling the students, as you said, and I have been asking them and trying to make them recognize something. So I have borrowed these from, of course, the scriptures. Listen, understand, practice. But now I am going to transgress into something which I hope I will be pardoned for, because I have put this in a way that might hurt some of the Buddhist clergy and the rest. So please pardon me, sir. I am doing it because to me, I have seen it happen and I have know it works. This is the only way to get things going. When people say Buddhang Saranang Gacchami, I say Buddhihe Sarana Yanna. This is something which is given to all of us and which is the pinnacle of what we have. Please take Sarana from your Buddhi. And then I say, go with your principles. Develop good principles and practice, because I believe the Sangha is the one that practices the most difficult Dhamma in this world. If we as students can do this, I said, you will go the right way. I have seen it work, so I may be on the wrong path, but I had to make it simple, because all what the students are doing is studying. They learn nothing. So I want them to learn. And to learn, you have to use your buddhi. You must develop your prospects. You have to develop your Dhamma. And you have to follow that Dhamma and be the example. If you are exemplary, there's no question. Why I say so? When I was given the award for one of the 44 exemplary citizens of this country, I asked the person who did the decision, why do you do that? Why should have been I one of the chosen 44? He said, sir, you are living a life which is an example for everybody else. So I thought, yeah, fine, then that is what it should be. So if we do that, you will be very mindful, you will be very friendly with the environment. So now I'm going to hurt somebody. This is not mindful of the environment. Sorry, Madam Tara, but this is how I always communicate. We must be mindful, a little bit even, and then it will work. If not, we will be where we are, and more destruction for the future. God bless you all. Day1 Saranai. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor, as always. Controversial, I would say, but thank you, because I think we need it sometimes to, as they say, light cracker under us and make us think. So, thank you very much, Professor. May I now invite Dr. Sunil Wimalawansa to do the honors.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, Madam Chairman, Most Venerable Mahasangha, and respected clergy and mindful friends. So, Most Venerable Dhammajiva Thera asked me to talk about this particularly important subject for Sri Lanka and certain but 13 other countries around the equator that kills about something like more than 40,000 farmers each year. Sri Lanka alone, estimated deaths is more than 80,000, which is much more than the 2014 tsunami that has been killed. Unfortunately, you will not see that statistics in the health department due to two reasons. Firstly, almost 70% of the farmers who are dying does not go to hospital. So they are not capturing that statistics. Secondly, even more importantly, people who are dying at home, their families are insisting that they cannot put the cause of death as a CKDU. Why? Because of the stigma for the family. I have seen that personally, and I can challenge anybody who actually disagree with that with numbers. Anyway, so I took the liberty to change the title with Honorable Bhante to make it a little more broader, to communicate about the non-communicable diseases in general. The reason is that the principle I'm going to talk about it and the concepts I'm going to talk about you today, some are new, also applicable to almost 20 different key communicable diseases affecting Southeast Asian countries, particularly Sri Lanka. So why selecting one disease, but when can actually address all 20 diseases together? So this slide basically summarizes what I'm going to do, to discuss with you very, very briefly about mindfulness. And then I'm going to talk about what happens when you're not mindful on health point of view. And the way to change that lack of mindful due to the diseases by changing the lifestyle and the behavior. And indeed, how can we use the mindfulness to help control or reverse these chronic diseases in general. So the problem, let me address for the next 2 or 3 slides some of the issues and the problems affecting the country in general. Firstly, we talk about education, but the issue is the modern or so-called conventional education in the country. It very well addresses people for the service jobs and creating some funds for them to survive. But unfortunately, none of the trainings we have, even today, does not address anything about the transforming the mind, which Sati Pasala is trying to do now, as well as this does not introduce anything about the human qualities, compassion, neither the loving kindness. So where can we really learn this from? Had to be for the temples or churches or from home, because schools does not provide that information, which is essential for the time being. Secondly, I want to emphasize the importance of somebody or someone is aware of Sati. That person is highly unlikely to engage in the bad behavior. So that's another reason to be mindful in general. And finally, the introduction to mindful, I strongly believe that's the right path to the long-term benefit for the country. So let me address the three issues about the communication issues. Some we have touched before, but issues related to including the Sati Pasala and selecting trainer about this issue. Firstly, teaching adults the behavioral change is exceptionally difficult, whether it's in medical setup, education setup in the universities or postgraduate level. Secondly, the teacher training program I have been involved with so many of them, and we see the difficulty in assuming these following two issues. Firstly, especially in the adults, almost all of you in the audience, we have a difficulty in ability of listening. Our concentration span is no more than 20 to 40 seconds, not minutes. So beyond that, we just lose our concentration, the lack of attention. And secondly, even more important, the message I give, for example, is not necessarily the message the audience or the recipient is going to be received. It's very different sometimes. I will address that also, because that's a very important part of for the Sati Pasala program. Now, the message we give, as you see in your left side of the screen, it's not the same as the message you received, or the comprehension is continually going to get affected, especially the people above 30 years, which is most of you are. And then its ability to listen changes also. So taking together this ability to listening and then not receiving the message as it's delivered can cause tremendous problem, not only at the family level, schools, universities, even the Sati Pasala, and more importantly with government, with the scientists talking to administrators and administrators talking to politicians. At the end of the day, the first people who are making the decisions or the policies may not necessarily hear this right message. Therefore, they can end up with making a wrong decision, which is in fact sometimes harmful for the country. So this clearly lead to chaos. So let's spend just 1 minute on the theme of this conference by the Sati. And I want to add the word sampajanya, which is our goal should be not only to having the mindfulness or the awareness, but also use that as a platform to further develop our minds through sampajana and the prajna, we have already mentioned yesterday in, I think, Bhante Dhammajiva, so, which is what we call the wisdom. So at the end of the day, what we want to do actually is not only achieve the awareness, but also develop the wisdom and maintain at everyday lives. So again, very briefly, Dr. Professor Sarath had gone through some of the benefits of mindfulness. So it clearly has got multiple benefits, which I'm not going through the slide. It's reduced errors and increased productivity. So it's very important for business people, for example, and hospitals to make less errors. And indeed, it improves the health and well-being of practitioners of mindfulness. So lack of mindfulness, on the other hand, does exactly the opposite. There's no brainer on that, right? Alienation from the traditional diet and adapting the failed Western diet cultures will the recipe for disaster for Asian countries. You can see the obesity, type 2 diabetes, all incidents are doubling every 10 years in this country. So as most Southeast Asian countries. Why? Because of lack of mindfulness. We just adapt to some Western culture, failed culture, Western diet. It's a fashion, see in the TV, but we don't think about it. So we take our children and feed them with a pizza instead of giving the rice and curry, right? Similarly, they're taking the shortcuts. I will address the issue of the excess agrochemical in a subsequent slide. All these affect the environment and increase the stress. So this is the issue that you're going to the craving, so clinging, fear of loss, lead to harm, destruction, panic, mental pain, and indeed suffering. So in the Eastern understanding, I think we mentioned very briefly the mind-body connection. I won't add that it's not only the connection, but we need to have the harmony between the mind and body. Similarly, that's not enough. Our lives, all of us, need to be in harmony with the environment. Some people think that we can destroy the environment and get away with it. It's never going to happen. If you destroy the environment, as per Dr. Kotagama mentioned, environment will eventually harm in a big time, sometimes as epidemic like CKDU. 3 things causes chronic diseases, more than 90% of a human being. Firstly, the maternal or genetic environment, we programmed the health for the future. Secondly, the environment where we live, the pollution, air pollution, water pollution. Thirdly, the lack of mindfulness. So all 3 things really adds of creating chronic diseases in human, at least in 90% of the cases. Question is, can we use mindfulness to alleviate these issues? Firstly, being healthy is not automatic. We made the choice of being healthy or not being healthy by abusing us, alcohol, cigarettes, or drug abuse, or whatever you want to call it. So all this can add up to our behavior or lack of mindfulness leading to severe health problems. So let's add very briefly again the chronic kidney disease of unknown etiology, which is basically environmentally induced occupational disease that kills more than 5,000 people each year in this country, was majority are farmers, male farmers, and that means about 13 families are getting destitute every day. Nobody's talking about it. No politician want to know it. No people in the Colombo, Candian cities doesn't want to know about it because it doesn't affect them, right? These are poor people, people without a political voice. So let's very briefly again look at the causes of coronary disease before we want to eliminate those things. A lot of scientists have come up with multiple hypotheses and conjectures. I have put a very small amount of here. There are about 30 plus hypotheses. The issue is that everybody thinks that their own hypothesis is right. Unfortunately, none of these hypotheses, none, have been tested scientifically to eliminate them or include them as a cause of the hypothesis. However, as I said from the 2001, it's very likely that the cause is multifactorial. Therefore, we are missing the opportunity of identifying them because we are not designing studies to identify the multiple issues there. This slide, I'm going to skip it quickly because this is summarized all the known problems associated with the disease. And the line, below the line, you can see that the broader groups of things like malnutrition, agrochemical, climate effect, poverty and malnutrition, all these actually contribute to the worsening of the situation. Slide what you see actually, the disease spread over the past few years in Sri Lanka. Started the disease at the North Central province, but it has spread around the North Central province and way outside that area too. There's no connection between any known factors today to correlate with the disease pattern and the known or postulated causes. None, zero, irrespective of whatever the people say. What you see on the right side is a hard water distribution, no connection. And the hard water has been in this country for centuries, going back about multiple centuries. Why now then? And secondly, this is the fluoride distribution of the map. It has some correlation, but certainly not identical to the disease pattern. Most people think that it's due to agrochemicals, but there's no evidence whatsoever agrochemical actually causing the disease. It can be associated with the disease, but no evidence I have seen yet today. For example, highest users of agriculture are the central province. There's no disease, no CKD there, zero. How come? Well, let's move on. The other factors contribute to the disease, but especially the poverty and malnutrition is a fundamental things create this chronic diseases. And then that is aggravated by the harmful behavior because of the people's lack of mindfulness of taking care of themselves. One example of more is not better, agriculture. I'm sure that Bhante can remember, is ring the bell of what's happening. More is not necessarily better in agriculture also. If you increase the fertilizer, for example, up to a certain level, the productivity or the agricultural output increases, you can see from the chart. However, if you exceed that amount, what you're all doing is wasting your money, polluting the environment, and actually your productivity can go down. So it's absolutely lack of mindfulness. They're trying to, the greed, they want to use more and more fertilizer and actually lose everything and causes diseases as well. So this environmental pollution, not only from agrochemical, there are many things happening. And indeed, it can cause chronic diseases or aggravate at least the chronic diseases in general. So let's look at the key concept related to the mindfulness and disease in general, chronic diseases. Firstly, the behavioral issues which need to be addressed to things like Sati Pasala and mindfulness training. And adapting failed foreign culture is not the way forward for this country or any other country. Secondly, the wrong beliefs and wrong actions. I think the various Bantes have already taken care of that, so therefore I'm going to skip it. And the conflict of interest, huge problem. Again, I don't have time to go through the list of these things, but you can see that every level there's a conflict of interest preventing progress of the problem, resolving the problem. Political squabbling, lack of consultation between scientists and the politicians is almost zero. Politician doesn't listen to scientists and scientists doesn't want to talk to politicians. So how can the country make the right policies for this one? And finally, the final concept actually, the pilferage, and it has been estimated that only a third of the rupee goes actual to the project, or the hospital, or the disease, or the people. So what happened to the remaining two-thirds, I don't know. And the politician, misappropriation of funds, and similarly, the granting bodies giving grants to inappropriate reasons. Let me skip these things to save time. One more important, the last bullet here, I want to emphasize that the government, remember that government is existing to serve the people, you, not the other way around. So politicians and all government servants must work for you, the constituents, in this case. Again, I'm going to skip these slides, some of them. It's a combination of these factors causing the lack of mindfulness leading to chronic diseases. What we need is constructive, easily adaptable behavioral changes in the countrywide so that everybody can get benefited by improving their own health. So these are the factors I've summarized. Everything we know to date causing the chronic kidney disease, behavioral malnutrition, oxidative stress, it's a final common path that kills the kidneys. So we can avoid that through improving the poverty and the malnutrition, then we can avoid the kidneys are getting destroyed. So let me summarize what I said so far. The cultivation of mindfulness is the best way to improve the behavior and the well-being. Taking person's responsibilities, again, we have touched that before, or lack of responsibilities can cause tremendous problem. Next is many of the diseases, as I said, almost 90% of the chronic diseases are due to environment and the lack of mindfulness. Part of that also the genetics and the maternal environment. So we can change some of them, but not all of them. Now, mindfulness can also avoid the selfishness. Therefore, for example, the overuse of agrochemicals is part of the entire lack of mindfulness. That can be fixed very easily by training, the mindfulness training in these people. And finally, CKD, the disease itself is aggravated. We know very clearly aggravated with the malnutrition, which is both part of the poverty, right? You said to avoid the poverty, malnutrition, you have to avoid the poverty. So to enrich the people, and same right as you guys having in the Colombo and Kandy, why not having in the remote villages people who are suffering from various diseases? So being mindful clearly have a beneficial effects of avoiding chronic diseases. And mindfully adapting the healthy lifestyle, balanced diet, and preserving the environments is, I suggest that good for everybody, not only in the country, in the entire world. So mindfulness can be then, it should be the real utility or the tool we need to think about of using in controlling chronic diseases. Prevention is the cure, not the treatment and building up renal hospitals and all the expansions. So thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Dr. Wimalawansa. You reiterated the fact that of the environment. Actually, if we don't preserve our environment, that those things do impact our health and eventually the country we live in also. So we move now to, we'll like to hear from Dr. Sunil Jayantha Nawaratne, and he will be speaking on the social issues and the social impacts.
Aiwan, Vanakkam, Assalamu alaikum, good evening. Most respected Mahasangha, clergies, reverends, ladies and gentlemen. My topic is socially relevant public sector through mindfulness. In Sri Lanka, I think public sector is the largest public sector in Sri Lanka, and also they says that we have the largest cabinet in the world. So if our politicians and public sector is mindful, we can easily develop this country. The issue is, I think our public sector is not so mindful about their service. So how can we improve the mindfulness, and how can we use mindfulness to improve the public sector? Effectiveness and efficiency is the topic of mine. So mindfulness is a state of active, open attention on the present. So that is the brief definition. So if the politicians and public sector focus and make their attention what is the purpose of the public service, I think that is one of the most important thing. I should thank Dr. Tara Dimel, who was a Secretary Higher Education, Secretary Education, and given me this opportunity, because we clearly understand the importance of mindfulness for Sri Lanka today, to make Sri Lanka one of the best countries in the world. So mindfulness-based public service opportunities provide strategies for calming the mind, identifying false beliefs, and provide opportunities for attention and focus, successful focus. I think today most of our publics, general public, when they go for an office, they says, come next day, maybe not available. Various reasons are given. So public sector is not highly geared towards the service orientation. That means they have not identified, or they are not mindful about their service. That is the main problem in Sri Lanka. As a public servant, I understand. So this mindfulness can introduce a big change to the public service effectiveness and efficiency, I believe. So element of mindfulness says that the mindfulness meditation, as our friend always practice, I also attended few of their workshops. The aim is to let the thought be momentary and transitory, and to keep coming back to the present moment. Because most of our public sector people are not focusing on their issues, and they are not living in the present, and also not living in the moment. So one more definition says, mindfulness means paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. So a lot of our public sector people are judgmental. When a person comes to see them, they never in a neutral mood. So they may take a decision very quickly, and wrong decisions. Those things can be removed through this mindfulness approaches. So concentration and sensory clarity and equanimity are the three skills we should improve through mindfulness of the public sector. So mindfulness can be trained, as you know, through various modes. So this is the situation. Most of our public sector people mindful with lot of issues. So they should remove all those rubbish issues and clear the mind full, and mindfulness help to focus their service to the general public. I think this is what we can do through the mindfulness exercises. So, I am not going to explain all these things, the background, but now it's being practiced by army and various other students and all, schools and all, even in the public sector, and as we understood yesterday, even in the political sector, it's been practiced to improve the effectiveness and efficiency. So, mindfulness help to change the brain in positive way. I think that is one of the main issues or main problems and main task should be in our public sector. So, overcoming the fear and anger is very important, because sometimes our people are worried about their pension. If I do something, I might lose my pension, I might lose my promotion. All these fears should be removed through this kind of exercises. So, what is public service is basically provided by the government to the people living in the area or the country. So, this service is in most of the countries, well, according to the World Bank, is not effective and efficient. So, there are various issues. So, we can easily reform the public sector through making the mindfulness available to the all. For that, I am going to introduce a new model called KSAM. When I was the Higher Education Secretary, we introduced this model to the higher university system. KSAM is making, we need 21st century oriented graduates or the human capital to make them what they know is very important. K, theoretical knowledge and the practical knowledge. Then what they can do, the skills, teamwork, leadership, problem solving, creativity, all these skills are very important. But unfortunately, most of our professors are not mindful about those things. They are just theory oriented professors. Then, unlike Professor Kotagama, some people are highly theoretical. Then students are not. And also, still teachers are on the teacher centered paradigm. But today, we should focus on student centered way and outcome based education. So, mindfulness create a very big change if we follow these things. So, what they know, theoretical knowledge and practical knowledge, and what they can do, the skills are very important. And how do they behave in the organization? Attitudes, values, professionalism and vision for life. So, are we developing attitude and values in our education system, or are we just telling them only the theory? Or if you are just teaching mathematics and economics, how can we improve the attitudes and values and professionalism? So, our professors and the education system are not so mindful on these issues. So, that is very important. Then how do they pursue the world? Mindset and paradigms. Not mindfulness, but also the mindset and paradigm. How do they pursue the world? Sometimes you may not understand what is paradigm. I will tell you one story, then you understand what is it. I will ask you the question. If you know the answer, please raise your hand. Father and son going in a car met with an accident. It was a fatal accident. Father died on the spot. Son was badly injured and rushed to the hospital, and he was taken to the operation theatre. The surgeon came with the mask and gloves and goes to the boy and says, "I cannot do this operation. He is my son." Father was dead, and surgeon says, "He is my son." How can you explain? Yes, one lady is there, two, yes. Yes? Yes. The correct answer was, the surgeon was the mother. Unfortunately, most of us couldn't get that correct answer because of our mindset and paradigm. Our mindset was surgeon equal male. As far as we believe that mindset or we see the world through that mindset, we never get the correct answer. Very simple answer. So likewise, so these 4 areas has to be improved, inculcated among our graduates, among our employees. So therefore, most of the universities are failed to do this. So 21st century is asking for this. So still, market is asking for KSAM graduates, but still some of the universities, especially the art faculties, are producing only half K graduates. That is only theory. So if our professors are mindful on these all 4 areas, so we can easily produce world-class graduates. So likewise, in the public sector also, we should produce or we should train our employees, public sector employees, to be KSAM. So we can find out whether our employees are KSAM or not. So KSAM model and mindfulness. So mindfulness meaning paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in a present moment, and non-judgmental, as we said. So now we can easily use this content, the theory, into the practice of our country. So mindfulness-based KSAM human capital is to be developed through the education system, through the higher education system, and we should retrain our public service and also the private sector people to be mindful-based KSAM. Then those people really become a human capital who serve the country. So resolve the issues in the public sector in social orientation. This new approach is very much helpful. General public don't need politicians or administrators. They need effective and efficient, speedy and productive solutions to their problem. So to deliver that, so mindfulness is the key. So let's understand that effectiveness, efficiency, speedy, productive and courtesy. So all the public sector should understand and keep that in mind. My final conclusion is develop human capital of public service based on mindfulness-based KSAM human capital development paradigm. If you do that, I think we can make Sri Lanka or any country one of the best countries in the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to Dr. Nawaratne. Very interesting concept of that KSAM graduate. But before we even bring that concept in, I think firstly, our university students or the graduates need that mindfulness brought in to their everyday behavior. That way we can build the KSAM graduate. We have about 5 minutes for questions, so very quickly we can take a few if you're very brief with your questions and very direct and able to ask the panelists whatever you would like to ask. Please raise your hand. We'll bring the mic to you as soon as we can. Very brief, please.
Very briefly, technology is a Frankenstein monster to the mind and the mindfulness. You fail to address the technological kind of problems. You address all the other problems. Can you please explain why you have not touched technology?
Why we did not touch technology?
Well, I thought I did touch on technology, and I said this is the worst product that we have in the earth. The air condition, right? The smartphone is the second to me. Right now, see, when we started, she has to say, off your smartphone. Where is the mindfulness in the mindful audience? So that is part, bad parenting, technology, instant gratification, selfish. Technology is there. Every technological innovation is a problem, and every solution is a problem in technology.
I think technology we didn't use the word technology, but when we say, when we have to improve the skills, again, technology related. So skills means how are you going to use the new technology, how are you going to use the new techniques, etc., etc. So technology creates a big solution as well as the problems. So for example, as he said, mobile phones is a good tool, but as well as a big problem. So are we going to define it as good or bad? But if you are mindful, we can use it in a better way. That is the solution.
Yes.
This is not a question that I would like to present, but I would like to correct one point in this audience, because there are so many foreign delegates as well. I feel Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha cannot be compared to any other things in this world. So I urgently request not to guide like that way. Buddha cannot be compared to Buddhi. Buddha is the Buddha. Dhamma is the Dhamma, and Sangha is the Dhamma. Sangha. I hope the whole Mahasangha over here will agree with me.
Thank you for that saying, but what I am trying to tell is a different story. I have found results not just in the Buddhist, but in the Catholics, in the Muslims, or you name anybody. To me, this is the most important thing which I believe as a Buddhist, Buddha told me to use. If I don't use this, pardon me sir, if I don't use this, I will not even realize who Buddha is. I will not be able to follow his path, which I believe is no question. To me, if there's anybody, philosopher or any religious leader better than him, sorry, no, there isn't. But I have to get to the child. I'll give you another story if you are all computer man. You may not agree with me on that also. We created the computer. We give it a command, refresh. We give it a command, defract. How many times have you refreshed your mind? How many times up to now have you defragmented your mind? This is mindfulness. To get the child to put things in order so that he can learn from what we are trying to put into him, I need a mechanism. I'm not trying to demean anybody or put anything down. That's why I always say, please excuse for what I'm saying. But I want a means to get to the child. I want to get him away from where he is studying, and ending up being the most selfish person in this planet.
Excuse me, sir. The answer is there with the Buddha. There's no we or I in this world. Everything is Hetupala. So that is the answer.
I agree, but not with the child. I agree with you 100%, but I have children from various faiths, and the child to understand the same thing you and I understand, give me an answer.
Do we have another question? There's one thing I would like to ask Dr. Wimalawansa before we close. You said healthy is a choice. Health is a choice. And being healthy is a choice. Children today suffer from diabetes, obesity, you name it. There's so many diseases that were earlier thought to be old people's diseases, so to speak. We lead them into those diseases and they don't know any better. How do we, well, at least if we can't, like you said, prevention, how do we prevent that? Isn't it an adult's responsibility? And also taking Professor Kotagama's thing, what do we tell our children? How do we give that message out?
It's a wonderful question. Actually, might need longer time to answer, but let me summarize as much as possible I can. This is the greed and temptation coming from the television and the mass media. That's where most of the issue is. I can remember I participated about 20 years ago, a TV program in this country before the introduction of all these fast food joints. In fact, I told the audience, this is a TV program, National, told that within 15 years there will be a doubling of the diabetes in this country, so as obesity. Look what happened. It's more than double now. So we had the wonderful balanced diet program in this country. In the villages, they had their home gardening. How many homes there now are the home gardening? Not even 5% of the village homes have the home gardening. All abandoned. They're going to use a shortcut. They rather go to the corner shop and buy everything they need. They don't want to grow anymore. We need to reintroduce those values back into the society. We need to actually educate the parents not to kill their children by overfeeding them. We are responsible, not the children. Children may be carried away with the TV, but they may not know necessarily consequence of doing that. Who paid for it? Parents, right? Why can't the parents understand that they are actually doing a harm by taking to this the fast food joint 2 or 3 times a week? And if you look at the health deviation, this is mostly 90% is happening in the upper middle class people. And all the obese children, if you go and sit near one of these joints, you can see that the kids larger than twice the size of my size, little kids, they're walking through the door, coming from the Benz and bigger cars, because they're affluent and they think that affluence can buy the health. Absolutely wrong.
Thank you. I think that summarizes everything we've been talking
I have
about.
something to say. I need only 2 minutes. I think it is, we are in a social process. Always we talk about children and how to motivate the children for various good things in this type of seminars. But the same parent, when they go home, do their habitual things. That is what happened. Because I want to tell something, there is a very good book. Everybody can read it. There is a book called McDonaldization of Society. Very good book. I think if anybody can translate it and send it to everybody, everybody will be mindful.
Thank you very much.
No, still I want to tell something. Because
we're running out of time, unfortunately. We have a lot more to do before we close up. So if you don't mind, we do take your point of getting the translation of McDonaldization. Is it? Thank you. Thank you so much. Maybe we could continue this tomorrow, if possible. Just to wrap up this session, we thought it would be appropriate for you just to listen to this song. This is wrapping up this session.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow look so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I see babies crying, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Well, that was enough to make us all weep, looking at what we have done to this world. Thank you very much to my panelists. I would like to invite Sarath Mahavithanage, please, to present the tokens of appreciation to my three speakers. To Professor Sarath Kotagama. Professor Wimalawansa and Dr. Sunil, Jayantha Nawaratne. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Hard work. This is for you, for your hard works.
Thank you very much. I'd now like to invite Venerable Dhammajiva back on stage, and he will tell you a little bit about what we will be doing tomorrow morning, our guided mindfulness walking session. Thank you.
Mindful walking can be done at any place if you can find a convenient stretch where disturbances are minimal. Sandy walking paths are ideal and luxurious, but rare to find. You could walk on a long choir mat if you can find one. But even grass can be useful as a makeshift walking path for mindful walking. Walking barefoot is highly recommended and is most effective whenever possible. Let us first identify a path that we consider as suitable for mindful walking. The walking path chosen by you should allow about 30 paces of walking to and fro without much disturbance. Once the path has been identified, simply stand erect at one end of the path, facing the path. Stand as though a candle has been placed on the ground. Be very relaxed and be at ease. For a few moments, let us silently reflect and know that we are standing and that we are not sitting. Keep your gaze a few feet ahead of you with your eyes partially open. Your hands should be relaxed but clasped at the back or at the front. This is to avoid swinging your arms to and fro while walking. For a few moments, let us begin walking up and down the path. First, let us walk in a relaxed manner, up and down, before you actually commence mindful walking. After a few paces up and down, we could then commence walking mindfully. Silently, at a pace that is comfortable to you, with your eyes gently focused a few feet ahead of you, begin walking. Simply know that you are walking. You may note how your feet are shifting from left to right, how your weight shifts from one foot to the other. You may also note how your body is moving forward. Just be relaxed and keep walking mindfully. When you reach the end of your chosen path, just pause for a moment, apply slowly, mindfully, silently, and very mindfully know that you are turning clockwise. You may meet with distractions. At that point, don't worry about those or get engaged with those distractions. Simply know that you are turning and that you are now about to start walking back the same way you started. Just as before, slowly, mindfully and silently walk to and fro on the path. Be relaxed. Keep your gaze ahead of you. You may notice feeling the sand touching the soles of your feet, or your feet lifting and being placed. Thoughts and ideas may come and go. Just note them without getting involved or engaged with them. You may hear sounds or feel the breeze or feel the heat of the sun on your skin, or you may even see an exciting sight. Just note all of these and keep walking. Silently, slowly, mindfully is our motto. After a while, this period could range from 20 to 40 minutes. When you are about to come to the end of your mindful walking session, silently stand at the end of the path. Note that you have just completed a session of mindful walking. If you are next going to do a session of mindful sitting, the mindful walking would serve as an ideal warm-up for your mindful sitting. In which case, please carry your mindfulness with you to the mindful sitting session so that your mindfulness will remain uninterrupted. If not, very mindfully return to your scheduled activity, again keeping your mindfulness intact. We hope you will continue to enjoy your mindful walking sessions.
Dear Venerables, spiritual leaders and the mindful friends, I will add few points to contrast, how to understand the contrast between sitting meditation and walking meditation. In sitting, we try to keep our body without much moving, technically speaking, no intentional movements, no willful movements, and try to see what is happening when you sit and in the body and the mind. That we call just being. The main issue is no intentional thing. Even something happen, unintentional, no problem, but that is your restraint. In the walking meditation, it's a difference because you are doing, intentional walking, and still try to be mindful. So in sitting, you need 4x4 square area, but for that you need about 30 feet by 4 feet, kind of a 1 meter by 10 meter in metric sense. And there, while you are walking, try to keep your attention with your posture. It's a walking posture. And therefore intention is there, mindfulness is there. The another difference is your eyes are open in walking and recommended to keep closed in sitting. Yet another one, in walking meditation, your attention is to the lower part of your body. In sitting, basically with the respiratory system, it is on the upper part of the body. And in walking meditation, your point of touch is changing one to the other. And it's a matter of maintenance of the mindfulness from one step to other. In sitting, if you are collected and calm, and if you catch the touching points, the breath-like, keeping the attention in one place rather. But here the posture junctions one to the other. So while it is happening, you feel, you expect it is harder than keeping the attention on one place. But if you practice properly, you find it as a kind of a aesthetic very nice, another combination. Still you can be mindful, 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, 4 step. In Sinhala we call hatai hatai. When a toddler try to walk without falling, 1 step to second step to third, while that small child is walking, mother is entertaining. So here also tomorrow morning, child will come and teach you how to walk 7 steps without dropping your mindfulness. And when I give instructions, I take 35-40 minutes to teach walking meditation. I heard these children, they teach you within 4 minutes. They're so efficient. And the next thing is, specifically Buddhist circles, Sri Lankans, and the traditional Theravada tradition, they call meditation means sitting. So if you ask, do you meditate? No. Because I have no time to sit. I can't sit. I have my back pain. I have sleepiness. But here in the mindful school, we give an alternative. You can be equally mindful while doing a simple task. And later, we will introduce furtherance, telling how to be mindful in brushing your teeth, how to be mindful while you are eating, taking a bath. These clips also available. With that respect, from the sitting to the day-to-day activities, walking meditation makes the middle. And it is called mobilization of your energies. So there won't be any sleepiness in walking meditation. There won't be any back pain problem in walking meditation. And you may expect so much of distraction because your eyes are open, outdoor winds, movements are there. But the touch sensation, moving, touching sensation is very, very prominent. Only one example I will give. I think children will do the balance tomorrow. That is the way we are Sati Pasala going to do. We are going to teach you elderly fellows, guys, with the help of children. So I went to prison, Valley Cadet, and I gave 1-day course, sitting and walking. Of course, they have done other meditations. And in a walking meditation, we had a few groups and one leader giving very small areas we have. And in the discussion time, one prisoner is been a murderer and is sentenced to death, capital punishment. He says, Bhante, you people are coming, religious masters coming and telling, come and meditate, sit, close your eyes and wait. Soon I close my eyes, the self-criticism comes. I feel fear. I can't keep the mind because my morality. So therefore I thought, even though you are telling, you don't feel our heart. But today, while I am walking, I managed to keep the mindfulness to the one step to the other and to the second. When it is going to the third step, I feel crying because I can feel I can maintain mindfulness. I dropped my mindfulness at the 5th step because I wanted to talk to you, so mind was upset. Mind went wandering. So I hope tomorrow you also will experience it. And I would say the approach to the walking meditation from the elders to the children, there's no much of a difference. We in Sri Lanka, Nisarnavane is a leading monastery for the moment, teaching walking meditation. And it was, I think, 50% of the success in the Sati Pasala. And we are going to expand it further. I cordially invite every one of you, please take the instructions, do 15 minutes and come and sit here, see the difference. Sitting after walking meditation, it is like a warming up for the athletics. Thank you very much for listening. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you very much, Venerable Dhammajiva. So you've got the introduction for tomorrow. Please do come in at 7:45 and go in for tea. And then come into the auditorium because we will have a few instructions given by the children and they will lead you out for your mindful walking session. Have a nice evening. We will see you tomorrow. Thank you.